celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
Welcome everyone to another episode of We Came From Celluloid. I am Nicky P, here as always with the illustrious Mr. Brian Pritchard. How are we doing today, buddy?
I'm good, Nick. I'm good. It's going to be a great day today.
If it wasn't evidenced by the cat who's running behind your head right now, doing laps.
I know. How can it not be, right? How can it not be a great day when you got a little cat biting your arm?
Kitty's just running around in the background. So, haven't thought much about what today's episode was going to be about, but I'm sure we will have some fun with it. I'll ask the question since you've been very busy with your new career change. I haven't had a chance to talk to you much about what have you been watching, buddy?
Yeah. No, I hear you. It's been a jarring reduction, right, in the amount of screen time that I've had available to me since taking on this new, job. And so I watched the Grifters again recently, and I'd gotten the Criterion collection, and so my habit is always to, whether I get something new like that, or even when I bring it down from the upstairs shelf to down here, I like to watch all the bonus features and stuff like that. And so I was just especially struck by, like, I've been considering going like, gee, like I feel so compelled to do this because, habit can be a strong compulsion. But I'm also going like, if my time is so precious, should I watch, a second movie rather than, 2 hours of behind the scenes stuff? But anyway, I watched The Grifters recently. I've been revisiting the Harry Potter movies. I'm trying to remember what.
I'm back again tomorrow, kid, and I'll do it again.
I watched and really enjoyed the Odyssey. I don't remember if we talked about that after I had seen it. But that led me to rewatch Tenet and bring down some other Chris Nolan movies. That happens a lot, of course, with music and film. Something new comes out.
What are your opinions on Tenet? That seems to be the one movie that really catalyzes even Nolan fans.
Sure. And my immediate response is that I've watched it probably 5 or 6 times, and it does not work as a story all that well for me. That, like, I find a lot of it to be people's motivations and what's going on plot wise. The plot mechanics of that movie, I find very confusing. I've had viewings before where, there seemed to be like a key moment or speech or bit of dialogue. Like there's a monologue that Kenneth Branagh has in the last like 20 minutes of the movie that I remember, like, one of the last times I watched it going, oh, got it. The secret to everything that's going on here really lives inside this monologue of his. But then when I watched it again more recently, I was like, I was listening to the monologue going, I'm not even sure what epiphany I had about these words last time, but it's not hit me. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I there's a lot of great set pieces that I like. And oddly enough, in the bonus features, a simple phrase that he made did make a lot of sense to me, where he was like, well, we were just trying to do our version of like the classic spy movie. And I'm going like, got it, fair enough. Not that had never occurred to me in some way, but that just seemed like a simple way to relax and enjoy it. Is going, I love the James Bond movies. I love the formula, such as it is, of a spy movie. And essentially that's what they're trying to do here, is they're trying to take that blueprint of a spy movie and heighten it in a Chris Nolan way with some heady, stuff going on and the whole backwards stuff. And
I was always a big fan. Have you ever seen the movie The Orphanage?
I don't know that I did. I mean, I can sort of picture that.
It might honestly, it might be difficult for you because you, like my wife, have the bad things happening to people aversion. It was, I believe, either produced or like, featured by Guillermo del Toro. But one of the things I always found interesting about it is when you're doing the commentary track on it, the directors say their goal was to do Peter Pan from the parents' perspective, which was all of a sudden, as a parent, your child just disappears. Like you're at home and they're gone all of a sudden, and it's like I would have never in a million years pieced together that that's what you were trying to do with this ostensibly a horror movie. But like when you go back and you watch it from that perspective, you're just like, oh wow, like I get what you were doing. Now, in that particular case, the movie was fantastic, even without that little bit. Like, it's a lot of moving pieces going on. It's creepy. A lot of imagery that's just very, Del Toro-y. So, but it always just fascinated me. It's like how the lens through which the director approaches a movie can alter or enhance like the enjoyment in a lot of ways.
No doubt. And it also, well, number one, that's a very Puma Thurman-esque concept, right? Like, and I'm sitting there kicking myself going like, damn, that would have been a good one. You know what I mean? To identify, on our own as a way in, I should revisit some Disney films or something and try to find a weird angle, but, shouldn't be too hard to do. Shouldn't be too hard to do.
You ever want a really weird, sad movie? Watch The Orphanage, because
But there's this idea of director's intent. There's this idea of looking for answers. Like I'm sure over the years, I was an early internet adopter in the 90s, and some of the earliest internet stuff that you did was, discussion forums. Not that it doesn't exist now. Reddit is certainly very much, a living version of that, you know what I mean? But movie discussion.
Reddit is a very interesting place in that 10 years ago I'd have agreed with you, but Reddit also let internal politics destroy it. And so
High level, let's keep it simple for the moment and just say that from a film discussion perspective, where I was going is just that, like, I remember having like David Lynch being my favorite filmmaker, but also quickly getting kind of like feeling over it in terms of wanting to overly intellectualize things. Like there's a point that I can hit sometimes where if I haven't used the phrase here before, it feels like dancing about architecture, right? Where you're like, this isn't the reason why we like this thing. You know what I mean? Like, the reason we like it is how it makes us feel and letting it wash over you. And you know what I mean? Like, and I say I shouldn't. I say that's why I like it, I know that different people certainly, that was very much the appeal of David Lynch or anybody else was going, no, I'm going to crack the code. I'm going to be the one to definitively understand how all these secrets and clues, how this trail of breadcrumbs was left behind for me to puzzle together and piece it together. Number one, if a director has legitimately done that, you're kind of an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, don't make any of us work that fucking hard to piece together your precious fucking vision, right?
well, and I've been an artist, quote unquote, too long to know that, like, yeah, a lot of the art that happens in art is after the fact abstraction. Whenever we play, Brown Coat Man, like that song was never intended to be what I tell people it's about right now. But like it fits our motif as a band much better if I tell people, "Oh, it's about this." And what's funny is that like now I'm in certain ways I'm kind of discovering parallels in the song with de facto added on mythos of the song at this point. Like, I was driving back from the gym last night going, wow, I'm talking a lot about the demon behind him, and that is such a great analogy for the Alliance. No matter how far away he tries to get from the central planets, it's definitely always at his heels, his death that's waiting for him. Is and so even as the artist, there's a certain discovery element of like the art that I'm even going through myself. Like, the like the way like, I chose this word in this one song and it only gathers more meaning or less meaning as time goes on. Why did I choose that particular word? Because, maybe I should have ran with this. And then sometimes the live performance, will even, take on the characters of, oh, well, that is kind of it'll be a fun little Easter egg that we kind of pop in when we play live that we use this new word, and then maybe people will notice about like we'll speculate why that new word crept into the live version versus the studio version, that kind of stuff. So it's like in the world of luck versus creation and intention, it's like, yeah, it's always kind of a mixed bag. I think unless maybe you're Kubrick.
Oh yeah. Right, that level, and Nolan certainly belongs in that conversation. A Kubrick-esque, meticulous puzzle box kind of filmmaker, right? But no, you reminded me too. If I hadn't shared this story with you, that Dome song "Two Faces" that we played at a lot of these shows. Brian, like you, like a lot of singers, you know what I mean? It's like there are times where we go out and perform material where the lyrics aren't fully written. Sometimes they're almost nothing written, right? But like the earliest versions of that song,
I've have entire years of our career that are just me mumbling shit on stage. It sounds like words.
yeah, exactly. But that particular song, the mumble lyrics that Noel was doing, the chorus always, I'm like, it sounds like you're saying Emilio, right? And so I was like, so say Emilio. It sounds like you're saying Emilio, so say Emilio. And the chorus ended up becoming Emilio, he's no Sheen at all. And we used that concept of going like in a world where Martin Sheen was a famous actor, right? And Charlie Sheen, you know what I mean, is trying to break into the scene. Why does Emilio go with Emilio Estevez instead of Emilio Sheen, right? And you sit there and you go like, yeah, just the idea. And so we use that as part of this, like, to me, hilarious way of, that album and that band Dome tended to be more political in our lyrics, and the Two Faces of America, you know what I mean, a concept being articulated as the differences between Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen, and like, but all of that did come out of just something so stupid and throwaway as just like the bullshit sounds that he was making, not even words, but just, yes, Emilio, and you're going, Emilio, that's perfect, like, there it is, yeah.
No, that is actually very funny.
Yeah, it's chicken and egg stuff. Um,
Well, and I to me, it's like the uncooked nature sometimes of so much. It's because like, oh yeah, it's here, it's done, but like, it's never really done. 'Cause there's always things that you'll notice as you go over your own creations and kind of, huh, maybe a little more here, maybe a little dusting something there, add a little spice to it. You know, I'm definitely one of those like, I'm never really done with anything I create. I'm just kind of always trying to tweak it, make it a little bit better.
I'm thinking of examples where bands during live performances have threaded another melody into theirs, right? I've heard Ween during the live performance of Japanese Cowboy. They suddenly hit the Chariots of Fire theme, right? Like a Japanese cowboy, like a brother on skates. And then you hear at the end, dum bum 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 dum 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 dum. And you're going, oh my God, of course it was there all the time. But I'm thinking it probably is not something they realized when they wrote it. It was like at a certain point in fucking with it, you go, oh, got it. Like I've had that happen to me. There's a
So you say that, but then I have to question.
It can go either way. It could go either way.
You know, we started playing 12/12 live during our tour. We had a couple rounds of it. And I assume that you remember like the initial inspiration for, and to the point like I really just want to drop the sample in the chorus of that song is that it's just that moody blues riff from Nights in White Satin. Like, and now does the song actually end up with that there, or am I end up gonna doing something that kind of flirts around with the idea, maybe push that melody in the background somewhere for like people to notice. Maybe it just does end up getting taken out, when it's all said and done. But it's like I know of the number of years there's been like a lot of performances and stuff. Like for me, one of my favorite things to do with songs is always kind of like find that pop song as a way to like take the song out. When I used to play with Uptight Sugar back in the day, we had our one of our songs. We always ended with "Sowing the Seeds of Love" as the outro to the song, and it's just because you know, as we were, I'm pretty sure the lead singer ripped the song off for like elements of that track. But it was always a fun way to take the song out. Like we're playing our song, and then all of a sudden, for the last kind of chorus we go through, we start just singing the track, bringing in all the vocal melodies. And to me, it's always a nice little wink and a nod to the audience, like, hey, we're fans. We come from the same place as you do, which is another one of those things that like you were talking about with like Lynch, is that it's like at a certain point, I don't want to know. I always want, I guess, want to know more, but I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact that no, I'm a fan. Like a certain amount of mystery would kind of like without that, would I lose my desire to, you know, know more. I always joke that like my favorite band in the world is from Cleveland, and I don't know. I know for a fact that I have to know people that know guys from this band, but I've never come across them. I've never met any of the dudes in this band, and like they haven't performed in probably 2 decades at this point. But there's like this idea that someday I might stumble across these guys from like my favorite band of all time. That's a local Cleveland band. It's part of that mystery and that fandom that I get to appreciate myself.
Yeah, no, we've done it, and we so far with Puma. I don't think of an example necessarily that we have, but I was remembering that the Blood on the Borderline song of Dome, we had this section of the song where it sort of like drops back down to the beginning and builds back up again, and we would drop stuff into that section. We dropped the Game of Thrones theme song into that section. We dropped the Terminator 2 theme song into that section, and we dropped Dayman from Always Sunny in Philadelphia into that section. I remember hearing Tool do Stinkfist on tour, and they would drop Suspicious Minds by Elvis into the mix. And it was like, again, this cool layer where it's like, oh, it's not even entirely about the melody. It's about the combination of the melody and the thematic concepts and how those are intersecting, suddenly at that moment. Mars Volta is a band that'll do that. I mean, they obviously have that sort of jam band vibe anyway, but inside there, he'll start doing other people's songs and stuff like that too,
But the big thing to me always was, and it's the one thing that I know that you're so in love with your own material that you share with people. But it's like, to me as a performer, there's always these moments with cover songs, especially if you like make them your own, where you're really kind of having a handshake with the audience and saying, yeah, we all start out as fans. Like we're from the same place, and that's why we can be communal about all this. Like we can be a part of this experience together because I'm one of you. And to me, that's such a powerful moment and a powerful place to be with an audience.
I think it's a tremendous opportunity.
And I know that you understand it academically.
I do. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I end up being in love enough with our own material that the narrowing down of a set list is already a really joyful process to me, but one that comes with tough decisions around songs that we can't play. And because there's always too much great material.
You think that. Let me tell you about the conversations I had with our bass player on tour.
What about?
Who all I heard the entire tour was his desire to strangle you for making his set list shorter and shorter. So you think you're precious about our material?
Well, fair enough, but yeah, that's a slightly different context.
I'm joking to illustrate a point. Like our band as a whole loves our material, Brian. And so like,
well, but so even to that point, if I'd sat there at a moment where I was trimming the set list for time, and I sat there and said, and let's get rid of one of our songs so we can play a cover song, that to me is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I do understand academically how it can form.
I mean, but that's also a framing thing. Like, like if that's why I like bands that really go out of their way to make songs their own. It's funny. I was listening to this dude yesterday who was going through Weezer's catalog post 2000, and I wanted to see kind of like if his experiences lined up with my own and my thoughts about the albums. And he was, as a guy who happens to be the same age as I am, it was pretty spot on. Like we appreciated the same things about the same albums and whatnot. But it's like it's at a certain point you have the Teal album by Weezer, and I'm sure you remember they did that cover of Africa a couple years ago, and everyone. The worst part about that album and that song, whatnot, is that they did it with no personality. They did a one for one performance, tried to ape all of the sound effects and like the keyboard patches to sound exactly like Toto did. And it sounded freaking boring to me. It's like had you made had you made Africa a Weezer song, that would have been so much more interesting as an artist. So it's like you have to you have to bring your own character to it, otherwise it kind of loses the luster. And they made an entire album, not just that Africa song, doing the exact same thing. It was like they just tried to do one for one covers of bands, and it's like they were all the same thing. It was all very much, oh, let's just try and do it as perfect as we can. Maybe from like a recording artist standpoint, there's an interesting element of how close can we get? But from a listener and a fan standpoint, it's like I don't want an album of 80s hits. I want an album. If I wanted that, I can get on Spotify any day and listen to it. I want Weezer to sound like Weezer in certain ways.
Yeah, do you know by contrast, did you ever hear the Between the Buried and Me cover album?
Which is amazing. Like their versions of them so good.
Yeah, like even if you don't like the band, that album is incredible, you know?
Well, and and moreover that it's like even the song selections that they chose for it. Dude, Bicycle Race by Queen, and then you turn around and they're doing
Into Counting Crows, you know what I mean? Yeah.
yeah, like they were just all over the map. And like when it was all said and done, they all sounded unassailably like Between the Buried and Me songs. There was no question that's what you're listening to. Like there was no like we're trying to make this sound like the original record. There's like certain types or maybe parts where they tried a little bit more, but it was never to make the song sound perfect. It was to try and like encapsulate a feeling that that particular recording technique perhaps gave you when you heard it the first time. For me, Bicycle Race, noticing some of the vocal layering they did in that was, and it was uncharacteristic of them, but it was fun to watch. Like, it was fun to listen to them go out and try this very different thing for them. And to me, like the one that always really shines on there is the Soundgarden cover.
Day I Tried to Live.
The Day I Tried to Live. They do the most like, and what's funny is that one is probably one of the more faithful representations I think on the record.
Slightly heavier, but yeah.
Well, that's like it pushes boundaries in ways you want it to push boundaries. It's like, you took that song, it was a pretty heavy song, and you made it heavier, and like the vocal, their approach to the vocals was so interesting.
They made Colorblind a song that I love. You know, I didn't ever find the version of Colorblind that was prominently showcased in Cruel Intentions was a real eye roll for me. The version that they have, they do this amazing harmonized acoustic intro that is not, of course, on the original. And then his voice, it is a very pretty song, but his voice doesn't have quite that same, like, forgive me, Nick, emo whininess to it, that the original has, where you just want to kind of shake him and go, snap out of it, like The Godfather. You connect like a man.
I mean, the performer makes so much a difference. As I think, like, if you wanted the truth, Brian, one of my favorite songs in the world, Chad Kroeger actually sings.
I see. Okay. It's a bold confession.
The song originally, it's a Carlos Santana song. And the version that got famous is actually the dude from Lifehouse singing it. Because Chad Kroeger's management wouldn't let them release it on the Santana album with him on it because it was too close to the release date of a new Chad Kroeger album. Which, by the way, I would have never bought a Chad Kroeger album. Like, it's nothing that I have any interest in. It was a situation of where his voice on that particular song just fucking hit me good. It worked. It wasn't his song, it was Carlos Santana's song. So I can kind of like backdoor my way into being okay with it. Lyrics to the song are fantastic. But his voice sounds so much better on that song than the dude from Lifehouse did. It's just so much more personality in it. But where I was going with that is like when you think back to like the 1950s, and I think also about this because Jamie Cullum is one of my favorite artists, and a lot of his catalog is cover songs. Like it's just he's playing jazz versions of a lot of stuff. But when you think back to the 1950s and 60s, everybody was playing and cannibalizing the same stuff. Like Sinatra was doing the same things Bing was doing. Bing was doing the same things, freaking what do you call it? Louis Primo's. Everybody's doing the same songs, but every orchestra had a very different way of performing those songs. Louis Prima did not perform the way Sinatra performs. Those songs all had their own character, their own interpretation. And so for me, it's gets so much into it's like, yeah, even if you didn't write the song, there's an artistry to be found in how you make that song your own and how you make it like its own thing. Like Louis Prima's, and you know Louis Prima at all? Pennies from Heaven, that kind of, Just a Gigolo.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, King Louis from the what do you call it? The Jungle Book, the animated version, was literally designed and mimed after Louis Prima, like down to like all the monkeys when they're doing their little train thing at the end. That is how Louis Prima ended every show in Tahoe where he played. Winding through the crowd, him playing trumpet in the front, Sam Butera back there. So the show he puts on is going to be very different than Sinatra, who can perform the same song, but his version is going to be kind of slow and languid and very, very, ooh, sexy. Or he'll have the version of, where he's just, feeling real upbeat and swinging, and like his swinging version is going to be like he's playing with all of the meter and timing of all the vocals, and like, it's one of the things, working with younger artists I have in the past, some of the bands I've been in, trying to like facilitate young guys getting to make art, um is teaching them phrasing. And so you want to learn phrasing, just go listen to Sinatra, because Sinatra is so very much like that's what made him great. Now, this is going to be a very abrupt ending because we've got our next thing going on here. Me and Brian have another podcast to record. But you think about that, folks. You think about versions, and maybe come back and tell us what your favorite version is.
Yeah, and I haven't been inspired to write a cover in a while, but we'll see. Maybe I'll give it some more thought. Yeah.
Take it easy, folks.
And we're turning it into music and podcast for you.